It remains a concern for mayors and for county commissioners all across the state as lawmakers reconvene in Austin. How long will this divide, though, state and local officials? From the right, Wade Emmert, the former Dallas County Republican Party chairman, and from the left, author and producer Katie Sherrod.
Well, good morning, and thank you, Jason. The Texas legislature has gone into session, and as they say, no Texan is safe now. But one of the issues that's continuing from the last session is that of local control versus state control. And it always seemed to me that a bedrock of conservative philosophy was that the farther down, closest you can get to street level control of government, the better. And yet our leaders, including our governor, are now pushing to take away some powers from the city and to put those in state hands.
Well, I think generally that's true. I mean, we want the people in control, but that's not always the case because there are some issues that cities like to legislate on that are really state issues, and in those situations, of course, the state has to act.
But don't you think that the local people know best what they want to do? For instance, in a ban on plastic bags. Rural areas want the ban because they're choking cattle, and urban areas want the ban because they're choking streets and making trash and all of that sort of thing. Texas is so big and vast that what might work, say, in Houston won't work in the Panhandle with Amarillo or on the High Plains with Lubbock. So it seems to me that local control should be our default.
Well, it depends on what the issue is. Bags is a small example, but what about fracking? Fracking is an essential part of the Texas economy. You can't allow one group, one city, or one county to hold hostage a vital part of the state economy.
But why not, if that's what their citizens want and they
Well, because it impacts not just those citizens, but citizens of the entire state. Look, we oftentimes forget the state government created the federal government. The state government also created the cities, so it is incumbent upon the state to act when called upon.
Well, I think we still have some grounds for disagreement on that. From the left, Katie Sherrod.
From the right, Wade Emmert.